Well, it's been, what, 4 years since I last made a video on this topic. The past 4 years I did a lot of stuff. I finished up school, did a degree in mechanical engineering, took forever, all my time and effort. And to pay for school, I ended up joining the Army National Guard, so I was gone there for like 6 months, just at training, and then finished all that. And I finished school last December. I worked as a mechanical engineer for like 3 months, and then I'm like, this is dumb, and then I just decided I'd rather just move home and be a farmer, doing what I always kind of done growing up. So now that I'm back home, I kind of have some more time to finally work on this project. So it's good to be back. I was watching that new Dune movie, and I'm just like, I gotta just finish that freaking animation so I can actually move on to something else. I have some other movie ideas in the back of my head, but I gotta finish this first so I can kind of learn all the VFX stuff and then can move on to those other things. So the biggest hurdle that I kept running into is this is kind of like a little Lego war movie, so there's got to be a lot of explosions, but I didn't really have any idea on how to do explosions. I ended up watching this really good tutorial by Sealish Productions, going through with geometry nodes and just kind of like being able to blow things up. I didn't go nearly in depth as kind of what he did, but if you want to learn kind of from scratch the start of like how to make Lego explosions, it's a really good tutorial to watch. I ended up going through and referencing some real explosions here. I think these would be really good for like kind of big giant 1,000-pound bombs just raining from the sky. So we're here in Blender right now, and I just kind of made a little smoke simulation. And so what I did is set to flow, and I just kind of animated a couple little smoke emitters. You can kind of watch these little, like, they look kind of like basketballs here. Just animated them up so they kind of just give that nice kind of similar effect as that real explosion we saw, where there was like kind of more dense smoke down at the base, and then kind of just one big solid column going clear up in the air like that. So once I did that, I exported this as like an open VDB sequence. Once you go through, you can follow Sealish Productions tutorial, the link's in the description. You want to like convert the smoke into a mesh, and he goes through and shows that it's a mesh to volume modifier kind of right here. So once you have that done, you can kind of see it's running really slow on this computer right now. But once it kind of converts to a volume, you can actually go through and voxelize that. And what voxelization does, it just means kind of taking and making all those little blocks. So once you do that, you can go through, and this is voxelated, and then it just kind of has that little Lego 1x1 stud as the explosion bits. So, and I just had the one explosion for that scene. I just kind of rotated it a few different directions so it looked like 3 different explosions, because I'm really lazy sometimes. And if you can get away without doing more work, then you might as well just work smarter, not harder. So that's how I did those main big explosions there. So just follow Sealish Productions. If you have any questions, comment on his video or my video. I might be able to go more in depth to help you guys. Some of the other explosions you'll see too, they were more like the dirt impacts from like the Stuka cannons as the Stuka's coming in to shoot at vehicles on the ground. It's the same exact concept, except instead of the little basketballs that I animated, I just kind of animated the smoke column just going straight up and down. So here we can see I just animated the one ball basketball thingy, the smoke emitter, just going straight up and then down. And what I did is I actually animated the emitter as well. You can see some of the keyframes down here. So it's emitting until it gets to the very top, and then the smoke is just set to kind of dissipate. You can go through and kind of play around with the flow source and everything, all these settings over here. And if you guys want, I'll post these blend files so you can actually kind of see what's going on. I mean, this was a month ago or something I did this, so I can barely really remember what I was doing. Sometimes you just get in that flow state and you start doing funky things, and somehow it works and you didn't break it. So Well, I guess it worked and it showed up in the video, so yeah, again, you would just export this as an OpenVDB sequence as well. Follow that Sealish Productions tutorial and he'll show you how to voxelize it using the geometry nodes. Then you can just kind of stick it anywhere in your scenes. Again, I just did the one explosion because I'm lazy, so I just kind of rotated it and put it all over the place. And I think it turned out pretty good for what it was. So the last thing that I really used for the explosions that I just discovered like 2 days ago by Pengy Animations. Shout out to Pengy, he saved my butt on this. He made an add-on called KA Brick. And what that does is it allows you to kind of make everything rigid bodies without having to individually select everything. You can just kind of, if you wanted to, you could just select something, move it to a collection, and then using this plugin, it's like $3 on his website, which is super cheap for the amount of work he put into it, this I'm sure. What it does is it just allows things to just blow apart like that. So I ended up going through in this separate blend file, just kind of blowing everything up. Once the Stuka kind of comes in and actually gets a kill shot here. That's kind of how I did all the explosions throughout this kind of short sequence here. Next up is the ground sequences, so I'm going to be using this a lot more for like tanks, and you don't have to explode the whole thing at once if you wanted to. You can actually just pick just a couple parts and just explode those things. So say a bullet came and just ripped right across the front hood there, you could select it so only the hood blew up, which would be, you know, really cool. So again, there's a link in the descriptions for this KA Brick add-on. I would definitely recommend it. Super, super useful. You can play around with the simulation speed. That might have been a little too slow. We can delete that bake, update the simulation, and then rebake it. Now you can see it's just going to kind of fall apart really fast. So you can play around with the simulation speed like that. Play around with all sorts of different constraints and things. Sometimes you'll get little glitches. You can play with the settings, and usually it'll go away pretty quickly, but yeah, the explosions, that was great. Anyways, that's kind of the explosions, covering that. Again, there was a Pengy Animations KA Brick add-on, and then there was a Sealish Productions geometry nodes tutorials. If you wanted to do kind of similar stuff, check out those tutorials. They did great work. So here we're just kind of looking at what I was doing when I was animating some of these giant scenes. A lot of the stuff, I mean, the best way I like to animate is like an onion. You should be using layers. Sometimes I use layers, sometimes I don't. We can like turn things off so we can actually animate. Let's try and turn some of this other crap off. There we go. So now I like to just animate with just a very clean workspace. Kind of see these are just some of the characters. So sometimes I get really lazy too. I hate I love animating, but sometimes I hate when you're trying to do so many people and stuff to animate by hand everything. So what I did here is I just kind of animated a whole walk cycle like that. And then you can just copy and paste it to all different people. And I mean, if you select the, I know a lot of other people are going to say like you should be using armatures or whatever, but I really just don't care that much. Like if you look at the body parts, I just kind of have everything constrained, so it's like animating in real life. With real stop motion, you can just grab the leg and just kind of move it. And then once you add a keyframe, you can just kind of copy the keyframes once you kind of get it into a little sequence. And say we wanted this guy to be running at a different rate than he is. Say you have him running next to another person right there. You can actually just, because if everything's kind of lining up together, it looks kind of funky. Looks like you're not doing the job. Even though these are using about the exact same walk cycles, to just offset it, you can just select everything and then just either scale it up or down. We can make him move really fast by scaling it like that. So he's just really just kind of running fast, or you can make him run really slow just by scaling up these keyframes too. So we'll just try and Control Z that, get it back to where it was. One thing too is that you'll notice on this guy jumping out of the tank right here, not that one, but the guy who comes up and out, this is actually a whole different person. So once he lands on the ground, I actually have his walk cycle down there. So he lands, and then boom, they switch places right there. And you can't even tell. That way, it's just quick and easy. You don't have to spend hours and hours and hours and hours trying to animate everything by hand. You can just make your life easy and just kind of like do this under the floor trick. I did that also with the explosion on some of the tanks or on that truck. You can't really explode something with KA brick if it's using empties, so I just had a whole different truck underneath there, and right when it exploded I just switched the truck's places within one keyframe and just kind of set it at constant. You can see right here, these two keyframes, that's right when they switch. And the interpolation mode down here is just set to constant, so it just instantly switches. You don't have to worry about that. Then just kind of copied and pasted a couple other people in the background just to kind of give it some visual depth there. Kind of see some of these smoke and the flames. This is just a particle emitter. You can go here. I've used this before just on a little campfire. In fact, this is the exact one from a little campfire animation I had a while ago. I didn't really want to just make it from scratch again because I don't really have a ton of time these days. So as much stuff as you can recycle, you might as well recycle and just tweak the settings a little bit. You know, we could add like more fire if we wanted to. We could say like 2,000 fire. Now it's really cooking there on that fire. Or if it's a slow fire, you can just click on it again, come over to the emitters and just give it like 50. And then it'll just kind of just barely be cooking there. Almost like just a little stove on low, your burner at your house. So we'll put that, I think it was, we'll put it at 800. Then you can see back there, this smoke, that's just a whole nother particle system as well, where I think it's set to like 0 gravity or something. It's all baked right here. We could delete it and just kind of see what we did. So the smoke starts at negative 250 frames. So if you came back clear down here in the timeline, it's still going. That's just so it'll get up to the height that it needs to be going, where the smoke is kind of disappearing up here. Like that. I mean, if we went clear back in time, you'll see where it hasn't reached the top yet. If we go clear back to like negative, we can't really go in negative frames, but that's when it starts as clear back there. So it has a lifetime of 300 frames. Let's see. It's moving at negative 70 meters a second, which is a lot, except for some reason the Mecha Brick scale, as everyone knows who's messed around with that, is like way too big. So it's really probably only moving at like 7 meters a second or something like that. Physics type set to fluid. Yeah, just play around with the emission. You can play with all sorts of stuff on here. Some more like emission stuff would be like, I used it for all the gunfire. You can kind of see here. These are actually just particles, like the little lightsaber pieces. There's actually two particle systems. One that actually doesn't move at all. You can see like these kind of plants that are just set to the same kind of translucent orange color, and that's just the muzzle flashes. And then you have the actual lightsaber pieces that are going to. So if we look at these, let's see, just got to go through and delete the bake so we can see what we're doing. So the maximum you can move is 1,000 meters a second, which looks pretty fast, right? But the thing is this is with the force applied behind it. We just got to look at this force. And this is, again, just set to a force over here. In the physics tab, it's a wind type force. At a point, you can see the arrows just kind of going in the same direction as the bullets. And you could really cook that. I mean, it's set to what, 150,000 right now or something. So bullets are really flying up. And if we look at the camera up here, you can see these bullets are really flying towards us. And add some sound effects and you're good to go. These cannon shots, they're not emitters. These are actually just, we'll go back to the very first frame. You can see this is just kind of parented to the camera here. So it actually looks, when you're flying, like it's coming straight from the aircraft, like that. But in real life, We're just kind of faking it. Anyways, they're just using empties. You can kind of see these keyframes here. This keyframe, then they just go right under the ground there. So they're always there. In fact, you can still see the last one shot clear down there. It's just they're under the floor. So again, the under the floor trick, same with the truck and the minifigures walking. Just kind of out of sight, out of mind, no one cares. And I think some of the shots turn out really cool. You can see some more stuff I hid under the floor. When you're having like these cannon explosions, like these Lego ones, you have to still have that original mesh for it to work right with the geometry node. So I just kind of stuck those under the floor and turned them off the render. So in fact, they should, yeah, they show up in the viewport right here, but they're turned off in the actual render itself. And then one last thing I'll show you real quick before ending the video for this vlog is kind of the ground in some of these giant scenes. Let's see. Forest and grass. We need to turn the forest and the grass on. But when you do, everything just slows way so far down that you can't even use Blender really. And I'll show you kind of the hack I figured out real quick. Alright, so with the forest and the grass turned off, we can go to the particle system. Right now the grass is turned on to like 1.5 million. We're just going to set it to 1. Now we can turn it on and we can work around things just fine. Let's find our camera back up here. So this is just showing the ground. And the grass is there. It's just right now we only have the grass set to 1 particle on this plane. And I like to animate like this because we can kind of see where the plane bounds are, kind of the endings, to make sure that it's always going to be in the camera frame for everything. And when we go up, I actually have it set to, I have it kind of set so the sky in the background is actually kind of knit down. So if we actually pull this over a little bit, sometimes you can see that it's going to have this black kind of knit line there. See how that's underneath the horizon? And you have this black line. No matter how far you scale this, sometimes it won't reach the horizon. So what I've had to be doing is I go in here in this world shader editor, and you can come over here in the node and then go to texture mapping, and you can actually just rotate right here on the x-axis and it'll actually move that down so that you don't have that weird black kind of no man's land. It just kind of pulls the sky right down to where your ground is. And then we'll turn the grass back off so it doesn't completely destroy Blender in here. We can do the same thing with the trees while we're working. We'll turn the forest down. So right now we have the forest selected. Let's turn that to 1, and now we can show it and it won't have any problem at all. Here's this kind of single tree right there. For some reason the tree's all kind of skewed, but it's so far in the background and kind of blurred that it doesn't matter. You can really just kind of crank these up too. And when you have it turned visible in the viewport, you can only go up to so much before it starts really lagging. So if we turn that off, we can just turn the trees all the way up to like 15,000 and not have any problems. It's still kind of working. We can still animate our scene. Things are looking okay. And same with the grass. The grass, will turn this up. I think I had it to 1.5 million, something like that. And it will slow down a little bit, but nothing like if it was shown visible. And then once you hit render, all the grass and everything will be there, and you'll get a pretty cool scene like this. So anyways, guys, that's kind of it for this last bit of the aerial sequence. Sorry again for the 4-year hiatus. I had a lot going on. I'm hoping to have this all wrapped up by the end of next year so I can work on some other projects. This is the last of the aerial sequence. The next thing is the ground sequence. I'll kind of play, how it's going to roll here at the end of this video, and you can kind of see it. But other than that, guys, really appreciate you guys for watching. YouTube did demonetize my channel, so if you guys want to support me, I sell stuff on Amazon. That's kind of my main source of income right now, or at least I'm trying to make it the main source of income so that I can have time to do more fun projects like this. So My store, it's just kind of in the description there if you guys want to check out some of the things I make and sell there. I'm working on a website too right now to try and be selling some stuff as well. Just check it out if you guys get a chance, and let me know what you guys are thinking, and if you guys want to see kind of some more in-depth stuff of any particular topics we cover today, like the explosions or how to make giant environments and stuff. Other than that, guys, hopefully I'll make another vlog soon and start going into a deep dive on rigging tanks and animating the big giant tank battle. We're just barely getting started with the battle, so it should be getting really cool from here. So thanks for watching, you guys. We'll see you later.